If you're trying to learn a new programming language, then do not start by watching a course. Instead, there's a few steps that you can do, and I'm going to explain those steps in detail in this video. Before we begin, let me tell you that these steps do work. I learned programming using these methods myself, and I've seen tons of other programmers become better by using these methods. In fact, I'm so sure of these methods that if it doesn't work for you, I'm going to personally guide you. You can send me a message on Instagram saying that these methods are not working for you, and I'm going to help you. I know a lot of you want to learn how to write code, and what happens 90% of the time is you'll procrastinate and you don't even get started, or you do start and you end up quitting. So why is that? People who do this usually have the same answer: I don't know where to start. So the question is, how do you start? I do have an answer for that, and I'm going to reveal that later in this video, so keep watching. Let's try to understand why people struggle with a new programming language. First reason is that they don't have a good enough problem to solve. Good things happen when you try to solve a problem, but it should be a problem you're invested in, problem that you're passionate about solving. For example, let's say I want to build a game of Flappy Bird. You remember the old game? You can choose something else as a problem too. For example, you might want to build the next Swiggy or the next Facebook or some other ridiculously ambitious idea. It honestly doesn't matter. The point is that you're really invested in it. Now try to solve the problem you choose using the programming language that you want to learn. And because you're so invested in solving this problem, you're more likely to continue learning without quitting in between. Our second reason why most people struggle is that they have a lot of decisions to make. So let's take our previous example. You want to build a game of Flappy Bird. Now you have a bunch of decisions to make. Which programming language should I use? Which IDE should I use? And what library should I use? And many more questions like these. This is very common in software. There's always a bunch of decisions you have to make. And if you search these things on YouTube, you'll see different people suggesting different things. And all this information will just confuse you into not being able to decide. I see beginners procrastinate a lot at this step. But the truth is, spending too much time making this decision is meaningless, because each one of these choices has its own advantages and disadvantages. So basically these choices are only delaying your learning progress. So here's what you should do. When you're given two choices, just pick one and get started. If your choice doesn't work for you, you can always come back and try the next option. And even if you do end up going back on your choice, you're not starting from scratch. Why? Because you've already learned a few things the first time. Next reason is that they don't take enough action. People don't take enough action when they don't know how to start. So the question is, how do they start? Earlier in this video, I promised I'll answer that question, and it's time for the big reveal. The answer is none other than Google. It's funny how everyone knows this, but they act like they don't. You can find all your questions answered just by searching on Google. And you'll also find that the same questions that you have were previously asked by other beginners just like you. But there's a problem. Most beginner programmers never even try to write their own code. It's either copy-pasted code, or sometimes they just take the entire project from the tutorial. My advice is, even if you're just writing a simple Hello World program, try to do it yourself. If you get stuck, you can search on Google, but always make sure that you understand what you did wrong and what you could have done to make it work. Number 4, and this is my last point, watching an entire course first. There's nothing worse than starting to learn a programming language and trying to watch a course on that first. I understand that this is an era of digital learning. There are many long-form courses out there for every single programming language, which makes it really easy to find the information we need. However, if you think that watching a course will help you learn a new programming language, then you're completely wrong. Here's what you should actually do. Let's say you want to learn Python. First thing you do is to have a problem in mind. We can use our previous example of the Flappy Bird game. Next thing to do is to take action with the help of Google. Initially, you might search for something like how to build a game in Python, and you do some research and learn that you can use the Pygame library to build games in Python. Then you can search for things like how to set up a Pygame Python project, how to set up a game background in Python, how to place an image within the game, how to move images based on your keyboard input. You can do all of these things. What you need to remember is that while you're doing these steps, you're learning Python, which was our ultimate goal. During the times you're stuck, you can look at short video tutorials. Short tutorials are great because they demand action, but long courses lead to procrastination, and they give you a wrong sense of achievement. There is a place for long-form courses. I'm just saying that the courses don't work at the start of your learning process. Once you have a fair understanding of the language you're trying to learn, you should check out one of the long-form courses and try to cover the topics that you missed. By doing all of these steps that I've mentioned in this video, you're learning a programming language by trying to solve a problem, instead of trying to learn just for the sake of learning. So that's a good way to learn. If you're looking for new project ideas, check out this video next.